were recruiting Samajie, did you look at him as a running back?
No, we were thinking receiver. Well, we thought he could play multiple positions, but we thought he'd be a perfect slot receiver, and he learned it so quickly. He learned all 4 receiver positions, so been really productive his whole career.
What do you remember about his running back tape from high school?
I don't. I mean, I haven't looked back at it. I just know he was a really good player that had good ball skills, can make people miss, and I think he's excited. It's an opportunity for him to touch the ball a little bit more than he has all year.
Is he unusually unselfish? Is Matt Marin, or do you just expect guys to?
Well, yeah, I don't know if moving a guy to tailback to give him touches is being unselfish. I mean, I think all of our guys they'll do whatever we ask them to do, and that's whether it's a Paul McGlure moving the linebacker or Gerhard de Beer moving 3 different times, finally moving the O-line. I mean, I really like our guys' willingness to do whatever it takes.
Taking injuries out of the picture, is something like players' secondary positions something you talk about?
Well, we talk about recruiting multi-position guys just for this reason, that it gives us a little flexibility if guys do get hurt. And going forward, we whether it's linebackers or secondary guys that can play corner, safety, or wide receivers that can play all 4 positions and maybe running back, we've got to do that to build the depth and make sure that we have guys that are good enough to succeed with every position.
Stanford is starting Keller Christ at quarterback this week. How, if at all, does that change affect your preparation?
I don't think so. I think they've run him a little bit more. They've run him in the past. They ran him against us last year, and we had problems with it. And he's a big physical guy, so there may be more quarterback runs involved. I think that may be the one thing that we have to be prepared for.
Stanford is last in scoring in total offense in the Pac-12. What do you think will be key for your team to really impose your guys being playing on them on Saturday?
Well, we got to tackle better. We got to get off blocks. The biggest key with them, because they're big and physical and they do such a good job fundamentally. You got to get off blocks and you got to tackle. McCaffrey makes a lot of guys miss. They got other backs that make guys miss. If a quarterback's going to run, he's a big physical guy. So the biggest thing is getting off blocks and then making tackles.
How different is their offense compared to what you might face in any
Well,
other
it's different, but everybody's different. I mean, even the spread teams you play have different philosophies on how they attack you. So, Stanford will spread you out and throw a little bit, but their base is obviously a more physical presence with tight ends and fullbacks, and that's a little different than some of the teams we've played so far.
It seems super obvious that you need to find where number 5 is, but how much do they move him around?
Well, a whole bunch, and he's at every position. I'm talking about from split out wide to split in the slot to being at tailback and obviously in the return game. And he's one that they wanted to get so many touches to, and which makes sense. I mean, he's one of the best players in the country.
How much of the last couple of weeks allowed the defense to kind of do some self-evaluation, kind of figure out what worked the first half?
I think quite a bit. More last week than this week. I mean, this week's obviously been all Stanford prep, but last week was a couple days. I said I think it's probably overrated that you don't really have a full week. You have a few days, but I think we evaluated everything, at least just from a personnel standpoint and a scheme standpoint too, a little bit. But you can't just overhaul your scheme in 1 week and say, okay, that'll fix things.
It seems like every broadcast they'll do a comparison between the other team's offensive line and your defensive line, what the weight differential is. But is that a source of frustration for you? Motivation?
Not a frustration, but a source of contention, if that's the right word, because we got to get bigger. We've we recruited toward that end, and going forward in the future, everybody wants them. But it does start up front on the D-line. I think that's the one position we got to recruit well at, and we've got to develop well, and that'll be a big focal point for us in recruiting.
You mentioned fighting to get off blocks. Are there other things that you can do when you have a size disadvantage?
Well, you got to be active, and you got to be moving a lot, and you got to have these guys that playing hard. They'll play hard, but they got to be extremely active. And if you're an undersized guy, you got to have great leverage. You don't want to stand straight up and let them blow you off the ball. So we've got to play with bent knees and good leverage.
Okay, guys.